Gambling on cruise ships, itinerary changes, and an accusation of discrimination over a simple dining room request. Yep, it's Saturday morning, and it's once again time for what every cruiser wants. Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to today's video and this week's episode of What Every Cruiser Wants. And we are going to read 3 new cruise comments for you today. We're going to talk about gambling in public on board cruise ships. That's a no-no. We're going to talk about itinerary changes. Some folks out there really need to read the cruise contract. And then we're going to talk about an accusation of discrimination. Somebody that, look, honestly, made a huge mountain out of an itty-bitty molehill over something that could have simply been requested in the dining room and would have been taken care of easily. But let's jump into today's comments. Let's find out. Are these people right? Are they wrong? Do you agree or do you disagree? First up, we're going to talk about gambling on board a cruise ship, public gambling on board a cruise ship outside of the casino, meaning you cannot simply go into a public area, let's say the Lido deck, hop down at a table, start up a card game, and use money and bet openly in public. It is not allowed on a cruise ship. Plain, simple, no. Now, the key to all that is you cannot play for money. Not you can't play cards. No, you can't enjoy yourself. No, you cannot play games. You simply cannot play for money. In a little logical thought, a little adulting, a little bit of common sense would tell you, well, okay, there's a very, very easy, simple way to follow every rule involved with this and still play the game. And if you use that common sense, you wouldn't end up with this comment. Yesterday, my cruise pals and me were playing cards and left center right. We were told by a very rude Carnival blank worker that we had to stop. He was very rude. I have met lifelong friends through playing this game. Each game was only $20 max on the table, $4 each. Not going to break Carnival's bank or anyone else's. Some of Carnival rules are getting out of hand. By the way, Healed, LRC is the most popular card game in retirement communities across the United States. All right, let's break this down. Whether it is the most popular game in community centers across the United States is absolutely 100% irrelevant because you can't publicly gamble on a cruise ship. Who cares if it's popular in the old folks' home? If the cruise line says you can't do it in public, the gambling part. Remember, it's just the money thing. So if you have $20 max, $4 each on that table while you are playing, you are in violation of the rules. And just because a crew member comes up to you and tells you, hey, you can't do that, well, you guys know how it is. It's automatically, that crew member is just so rude because they made me stop and won't let me do whatever I want to do. And what really, really, in my opinion, makes this comment utterly pointless and stupid is the solution is so very, very simple. You can't play with real money, but you could play with, say, a poker chip. You could play with, say, Monopoly money, miniature candy bars, buttons, whatever the case may be. You can go up public on the Lido deck, play this game with anything that's not currency, and then leave the public area. Here's the key. Leave the public area, go back to, say, your cabin, and then the winner can collect their money there. That's what makes this so dang goofy, because we could form a card game on the ship. And ahead of time, before we even play cards, but hey, look, it's a $20 buy-in, okay? Winner takes all. But we can't play for cash while we're up out at the table enjoying ourselves wherever we may be. We're going to instead use these poker chips as Monopoly money. Then when it's all said and done, it's all over. We'll go back to the cabin. The winner takes their money. Bam. Cruise line now knows nothing, is not involved, and nobody's being rude to you. So this person is just mad that they can't have money on the table because that's really the only issue and the problem. You can play the cards. You can play the dice. You just can't have money. Why? Create an issue over something that can be so easily solved. I just don't get it. Cruise ship itinerary changes. They happen. Some people hate it, but unfortunately, it is in the cruise contract that cruise lines do have the option to change cruise ports as they feel is necessary and needed. Honestly, even if they just want to. And you can be upset and you can be mad, but at the end of the day, the cruise line, they really don't owe you anything for an itinerary change that you already agreed to simply by signing the contract that says they can. And also, if you book through third-party excursions, well, that's really not the cruise line's issue either. Asking for a friend. Carnival has changed our cruise itinerary from Nassau to Celebration Key. They are giving no explanation. We can only believe this is another money grab attempt on Carnival's part in hopes we will spend money at Celebration Key. Since we pick cruises based on the ports, I should be given a full refund, and Carnival should pay for my 2 tickets that I bought for with a private operator to Rose Island to swim with the pigs. The operator is refusing to give me a full refund for my cancellation. Why has this not been answered, healed by you or by Carnival? Agree with it or disagree with it, and there are plenty of times I wish the cruise lines would be a little more forthcoming in the why they do things. But honestly, at the end of the day, if they change your port from Nassau to Celebration Key ahead of time before you even sail, they really don't have to give you an explanation. And they definitely don't have to give you a refund, and you're not owed a refund. I know that's a harsh reality. I know not everybody likes that because a lot of times people do book certain cruises for the itinerary. There's someplace they really want to go, they really want to see, and they don't get to go there. And yeah, I get it. It sucks. But it's unfortunately part of the cruising world. It is part of the cruising lifestyle that you're going to miss a port. A port can be changed. You may end up going somewhere else. But all the feelings aside, you agreed that the cruise line can change the port when you book the ticket. Now, if you book excursions through third parties and your itinerary changes, sad to say, that's still just between you and the third party. Nothing whatsoever to do with the cruise line. Cruise line is never going to reimburse you for a third-party excursion that you chose to book. Cruise line's always going to tell you, book your excursions through us. That way they're covered. Because had you booked through the cruise line, your excursion would have been refunded. It was a choice you made to book third party. Can't blame the cruise line for that. So if these kinds of changes that are always possible, it's not how you want to travel and it's not how you want a vacation, then honestly, you may want to consider something other than cruising, because this kind of stuff happens pretty regular. And finally, we have an accusation of discrimination. I do want to say ahead of time, I can understand the frustration that this cruise passenger may have experienced in the past. I can understand that there is a medical condition involved that requires, a little bit extra in order to truly enjoy a cruise vacation. I understand all that. But what she wrote and how she wrote it and the way she's trying to go about it, honestly, is the wrong way, especially when there's a very easy way that this could have been done. So yelling discrimination, making accusations that are not true, putting out false information, honestly creates more of a problem than the solution, which would simply have been to say something. Had she simply asked, simply said, hey, could you help me out? This would have never been an issue or a problem or an accusation at all. Question: why do you discriminate with who you help and who you do not? My husband has Parkinson's. He has had the disease for over 10 years and has many issues, with the main one being bent spine syndrome and severe hand tremors. He has been through some pretty tough times, but still manages to cruise with me. He uses a walker and we always get an accessible cabin. I noticed that you arranged for blank to have her husband's meals cut up inside the kitchen. This was not offered by you to me. You have never announced this as far as I have researched. You obviously do not understand the embarrassment for a proud man like my husband to have me cut up his food in public. It's embarrassing to have to ask for this to be done in person to one of the workers. Maybe if you understood Parkinson's, then you would offer this service for all, not just one passenger. Was it because he was diamond? Okay, now this course was written to Carnival Cruise Line's brand ambassador, John Hill, and he did respond. He never ever arranged to have anybody's food cut up in the kitchen before it came out to the table. What he said actually occurred is the dining room staff on board the ship noticed that this was going on, noticed there was an issue, that there was a little bit of a struggle during the meal service, and on board the ship, the chef on board the ship arranged for this to be done. He saw an issue, he saw a way to help, he did what he could to make the situation better. That's what actually happened. This was never John Heald specifically arranging anything for anybody. So, no, it's not because he was diamond. It's not because they discriminate. It's not because he picks and chooses who gets special treatment. Nothing like that. Okay? It's because on board the ship, they saw, they helped. That was it. And he talked about it. That's the actual story of what happened. Now, here's the thing. This is a very easily solved issue and problem, because I understand her husband may be a proud man. He doesn't want to have to ask for this. I get that, got that. As a guy, I would feel exactly the same way. I'm sure plenty of women would too, not pointing it out that way, but I can just say as a guy, as me, yeah, I would not necessarily want to have to ask for this. But all she had to do was pull the maitre d', the restaurant manager, aside and say, hey, could y'all do me this favor? If could we have it cut up into small bite-sized pieces before it comes out to the table? This is why. That's it. They would have accommodated that. They would have taken care of it. He would have never even known that she asked. That's how easy this would have been to solve. You don't have to yell discrimination. You don't have to accuse anybody of helping somebody and not something else. You don't have to say, well, is it because he's diamond and I'm not? No, it's because you simply didn't want to say, hey, can you help me out with this? And I guarantee you, the crew would have done everything possible to make it happen smooth, seamlessly, without an attempt to embarrass anybody. I really wonder, why is it that sometimes people take the hard road? You have the easy road, you have the hard road. Some people just seem to purposely choose the hard road. They didn't ask, they didn't inquire, they didn't anything. They just wrote in a comment attacking somebody else, attacking whatever they could attack over something that unnecessary, when if they just took the easy road, just never would have been a problem. And that's going to be our video this week for what every cruiser wants. You guys let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Are they right? Are they wrong? Is the cruise line wrong for not allowing public gambling when honestly there's just a really easy way to get around it? I mean, come on, you can still enjoy the game. Just do the money part. We're out of sight, out of mind. I know people don't like itinerary changes, but does the cruise line really owe you a full refund over one port change and third-party excursions? And would the simple road of just not inquiring and asking while on board the ship been a much better solution than a comment that accuses of discrimination about anything? Now, if you've enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It is free to do so. Helps our channel grow. Let you know anytime we put out a new video. Hope everyone out there is having a really great day. And like always, we will see you out on the high seas.